Hi booktubers, I'm Mizzy on BookTube and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk a little bit about Authortube. Now I consider myself a booktuber. I started this account so that I can talk about books, but I am also an aspiring author. So a lot of my videos are going to be about writing and the craft of writing vlogs and tips and things that I come across. So today I really wanted to do the Authortube Newbie Tag. I consider doing the BookTube tag, but there's just too many good books and I just can't. So I was tagged by nobody, and I think that one thing people don't consider when they're first starting out is that you really have to start networking right away. That's gonna be a thing that follows you through your whole career, whether you are a writer or I don't know. I don't know any other jobs. So I am doing the Authortube Newbie Tag, and I am tagging myself. And also I am tagging all of you because somebody has to. Okay, question 1. How did you find out about Authortube? Do you know, I found out about Authortube from Jenna Moresi. She was really the first writing craft Authortuber that I came across. I didn't really know that there was a community of Authortubers that were doing this, but I sort of fell into it using the related search bars and stuff like that. Vivian Reese was a big one that helped me get into it as well. There's so much content out there and so many great Authortubers, so it was pretty difficult not to find them, if I'm being totally honest. Question 2, what genres do you write in? I am gonna go ahead and say that I write under the speculative fiction umbrella. Most of what I write is science fiction. There are a lot of things I write that are sort of more fabulism or even kind of fairy tale based, I would go so far as to say. However, science fiction, speculative fiction kind of covers most of it. Question 3, what is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and category of story? Children's, YA, NA, adult, etc. That's a really difficult question. I tend to read primarily adult or young adult novels. I haven't actually read a lot of new adult novels. That's sort of a genre that I haven't completely figured out yet. However, I suspect that my current novel might actually be a new adult story. I would say that my favorites are adult and young adult. My favorite tense is probably past tense. I don't mind a good present tense story, but it has to be from first person point of view. And even then, I don't know, I find it really frustrating to read. I want it already to already have happened. I want the fiction to be fiction already. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. And then, point of view, that's another difficult question. I like third person because I like to follow different characters. I like the sort of outside, godlike view it gives me of spaces and settings and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and say third person. Are you a plotter, pantser, or plantser? I'm such a plotter, you guys. I plot everything. I love plotting. I plot all of my stories and novels and novellas long before I even consider writing them. A really wonderful resource that I came across is Save the Cat. It's actually a beat sheet that was made for films and film writers. However, it translates really beautifully into writing novels. It really gives you sort of that hero's journey and hero's arc through a story and helps you plot out your novel. I've also been known to use the master outline from the Better Novel Project. The Better Novel Project is a site that all writers need to visit. It has such amazing insight on how to write a story, how to plant seeds in a story and clues. It's particularly useful if you are writing kind of science fiction or fantasy or sort of an otherworld story. It's definitely based on YA stories, since the site kind of came about from researching Harry Potter, Twilight, and the Hunger Games. However, I find it really useful in all of my stories, and I've kind of I've used it alongside Save the Cat a lot, and I have a lot of plotted yet unwritten stories that I'm really proud of their structure. So yeah, I'm a huge plotter, and I've learned a lot from writing my last novel. I've learned a lot. 5. Are you a self-published, published, or yet to be published author? I am none of these things. I mean, you could say I'm self-published in that I've written a lot of fan fiction that you don't get to see. But I'm just an author in training. I'm just an aspiring author out in the world trying to write some books. Question 6. What publishing company, literary agent, and/or printing company are you represented by or use? If you are not yet published, what is your dream publishing house and/or literary agent? Random House is like the best. Random House, I don't even know how they do it, but everything that they have ever released is my favorite book. Everything. There's a really wonderful novel I read. I must have been in early years of college. It's called God's Behaving Badly. It's by Mary Phillips. And it's such a random book, which is why it's published by Random House. What Authortube related videos can we expect to find on your channel? Well, I'm an author in training, so I basically title all of my Authortube content or author WordPress content author in training. I think it's really important when you are watching my videos to recognize I'm not a published author, not self-published, not traditionally published, so I'm really not an expert. I'm just sharing things that I've learned along the way. I really also want to share my writing process, sort of what my space looks like, when I write, how I write, what I write with, and all of the little resources that I found not only online but in the world. When did you start writing? I started writing in 2004. That's not true. I started writing when I was like 5 years old. I would write really weird, bad kids songs and really strange, kind of spooky stories. I wrote a lot of horror stories growing up. I don't know why I did that or what was going on in my poor childhood head. But that was definitely where I started writing. And what's funny is that I always used to write these stories that were maybe like 3 pages long, but somehow had 1,000,000 characters. And that's a problem I still have today. What was the first story you ever wrote? Again, I'm pretty sure it was a spooky story. I wrote a story when I must have been, I don't know, 8 or 9. I don't even know, man. And it was about a grandfather clock, and at night this kid wandered out of her room because she heard the grandfather clock, and the clock was going tick tock, I will kill you, tick tock. And again, I was a weird child. What authors have inspired your writing the most? That is a very challenging question. I mean, going with the fan fiction, we gotta say J.K. Rowling, alright? Joe Rowe over in England land was pretty much the number uno. I would say a lot of my style as an adult is really inspired by writers like Vonnegut. A lot of Russian writers, strangely, really inspired me. Dostoevsky especially. I really like that they have this sardonic quality. I like writing things that are so tragic you have to laugh, and so did they. I also think that my writing is inspired heavily by film writers and TV writers. Richard Ayoade, for example, is one that I really, really love. Dan Harmon is another television writer that really is just knows how to tell a story, knows how to build a character. I'm all plugged in, by the way, in case you were wondering. There's never enough charge on an iPhone, is there? Sad Christmas. Do you schedule your writing sessions or simply get to writing whenever you can find the time? I schedule a couple of them because I do go to a writer's group, so there are elements where I either A, have to have a certain amount of words written by a certain time, or B, I'm just scheduling a time to meet my writer friends and go to a cafe and write some stuff down. That's something that started very recently for me. I just moved to a new city, so I'm just sort of discovering all the different writing groups and stuff like that, and it's something I'm taking more seriously now that I'm here than I did back in my hometown of Toronto, which is not even really my hometown, just the last place I lived. Do you type on a computer, typewriter, write everything out by hand, or use a blend of those? And where do you write in general? I write primarily on my computer. I use Scrivener. Scrivener is heaven for writers, and especially for novel writers. It totally changed the game for me. I also do a lot of writing on this guy right here. This little phone dude. This is where the madness lives. Or where the genius lives. But mostly where the madness lives. Yeah, honestly, if I'm at work or on my commute or anywhere in the universe and I get a good idea, I write it down in my notes, and then I go home and I have to decipher them. There are a lot of midnight notes from this guy to this guy that I don't know what they mean. Sleepy Michelle needs a translator. What are you most looking forward to now that you're a part of Authortube? The big thing for me is just networking. I really got into Twitter recently, and it's made such a huge difference in not only feeling like a writer and feeling like a relevant person in the world who wants to write things, but also just for learning purposes. You can learn so much just sort of following different people, asking them questions, reaching out to people. It's how I found, you know, beta readers, critique partners. So Authortube for me is really just a way to communicate to other people, for other people to communicate back to me, and to make writer friends, because really, there's not enough of us cool people in the world, and those of us that there are, we gotta find each other. We gotta find each other. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if anyone else is going to be doing NaNoWriMo this season, please reach out to me. I really want some NaNoWriMo buddies, especially since I just moved to a new town. So if y'all want to have a couple online write-ins, hit me up in the comments place. It's down there somewhere. Maybe it's up here sometimes. I don't know how other people's YouTubes look. I assume they all look the same, but really, who knows? Maybe that's an idea for a novel. The YouTube. Or the YouTube.